I'll turn the time over to you, Sister Self, if you want to take over, and then I'm going to turn it around so you can see the students in the class, and then they'll be able to see
Great.
on the screen as well. So
Fantastic.
go technology.
All right. Do I have the ability to share my screen?
You
Look like it.
will.
Not quite yet.
Right. There you go. Now you should have it.
Okay, thank you. Let me do this really quick. All right. Can everybody see what I'm looking at, the library homepage? Okay.
Yep, looks good.
Okay, wonderful. I will preface this. I've got two little kids in the background that I'm trying to keep occupied, and I hope they don't interrupt this. I apologize if they do. So what I'm going to do today, like Brother Hale said, I'm just going to introduce you to some of the resources available through the library, how to access those, how they might be utilized for your projects. These business databases are fantastic, but they can be a little bit of a rabbit hole. And I will mention, if you come to the library website and you do a search using this search bar, you may not find exactly what you're looking for. The type of information that you guys will be needing, it's very specific. And that search bar searches multiple databases simultaneously. And it might be very, very frustrating. So I'm going to take you to a specific spot that another librarian and I have created, that we've just kind of compiled all of the tools that are really, really useful for Business 301 students. So if you'd like to follow along, please do, or take notes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to this Research Tools drop-down menu. And there's going to be this link called Research Guides. Librarians love to create research guides because we're all about making things more accessible. So right now, we're looking at our research guides by subject. Again, this is where we just throw a lot of information that's pertinent to one subject area. So you're not searching the entire library databases or resources that we have, it's more specific. So we're going to come down here to the business management subject. Click that, and there's going to be several in here. The one I'm going to take you to is just business, right there. Okay. Now there is a lot in here, but what we've tried to do is pull some of the most useful resources out and list them right here so that you're going to have them right there. Okay. So I'm going to go through some of these. And if at any point you have any questions, please don't hesitate to interrupt me, stop me. If you'd like to see how I got to something, please let me know. And some of these I'll get more detailed into. Some of them I just might mention what they do. As you can see, we have access to Wall Street Journal. We also have access to New York Times. So if you'd like that daily up-to-date information, you can subscribe to those. You do have to register. But just use your BYU Idaho email address and you'll get access to those really quickly. Get abstract can be nice. I like to pull that out and mention it just because it's really good at summarizing business books. And so sometimes if you want to sound like you know what you're talking about in an interview, sometimes it's good to go to Get Abstract and read up on some of these more current business books that might be available. Okay, so those are available. They can be very helpful. I'm just not going to dive into them much right now. But I'm going to focus most on Statista, Mintel, IBISWorld, and Mergent Intellect because it is very specific information. Statista, as you can probably guess by the name, it's a statistical database. It's one of the largest available in the world right now. So basically you can search any subject really, and you'll see what's available in terms of statistics, survey reports, infographics, you name it. And so you can do a search using this search bar if you just kind of want to come here and see what what's available. You can even click some of these most recent searches that have been done. You can also use these drop-down menus up at the top to kind of see what it's going to give you. So statistics, what types of statistics? Industries, consumer goods, internet, media and advertising. Some of these are going to be really nice for maybe marketing campaign. Transportation and logistics. You can also look at different types of reports, digital and trend reports, industry reports, politics and society. Sorry, the mouse is a little temperamental. Consumer reports, country reports, Outlook reports. That can be really nice as well if you're going to be doing any type of SWOT analysis. Okay. And then some infographics are available if you ever need to do some type of presentation. That's there as well. So I'm just going to click on social media so you can kind of see what this will provide. So you'll get kind of an introductory paragraph. Then an overview, what's leading in the social media, most popular social networks. Again, these are all statistics, okay? Usage, if you need to see usage. This is always kind of fascinating. The influence. And then you get more specific. Here's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, marketing and advertising, data requests, okay? And so if you click on one of these, media usage in an online minute, here we go. Messages shared by WhatsApp users, 41 million per minute, okay? So it'll give you some pretty in-depth statistical information, okay? All right. So again, that's tip of an iceberg for Statista, but very, very helpful for helping you get those hard numbers that you might be needing, okay? All right. Mintel. Mintel is all about market research. So again, you guys are sounds like you're gonna be doing a marketing campaign. Mintel is, you're gonna get your market research reports, but it can also be kind of a fascinating brainstorming tool. So you can kind of see how things are connected, where trends are coming from, what might be driving something in a certain category. So again, you can do any type of search if you want to, if you're just kind of not quite sure what you're wanting, to get into here, use these tabs over here so you can search by category. And sometimes I found with Mintel, sometimes that's the best way to use it. Come in here and pick a category, or if you have a category in mind, easiest way to dive into this. But you can also do it by region. You can also take a look at these trend drivers, which might actually be kind of fascinating, what types of experiences or surroundings or technology might be driving a certain type of trend. Demographics might be kind of fascinating, and a lot of the databases now have a special COVID-19 tab that you can utilize as well, that you can see how it is affecting certain types of markets and categories within a market, things like that. There's also, if you want to see some of the most up-to-date market research reports, they're usually listed in these boxes down below. So I'm gonna pick a category so you can kind of see what this does. Let's do food, because that's what's on my mind right now, especially desserts. I'm all about desserts.
Jeez, I'm starving.
Too. It's not even noon. Start your day with a cake. There you go. Cult cookie expansion. Okay. Some of these are observations, and so they may not be full reports, but here we go. Here's a report: ice cream and frozen novelties. And this was last updated of April. So let's dive into this report a little bit so you can see. And these databases are pretty massive, some of them, so if they take a little bit to load, just be patient with them. So again, it'll start with kind of an introductory paragraph about this, and then you're going to get into the different parts of this report. Sometimes when you're needing to read something about a company or an industry, you want an executive report where it just gives you the breakdown, and sometimes just a page, so you get the brief overview of how what's going on in that. Those executive summaries can be nice. Infographic overview, you'll get those nice pictures, and then you'll have your full report. They'll also provide some type of PowerPoint presentation, things like that. There's also what's called an interactive data book, so you can see how things change according to certain types of influences or trends as well. And then this is where you kind of get into this specific market, who are the usual consumers, who are the top companies or brands, and what kind of data can you be looking at those, okay? Something you can use as well, it's not on this page. They recently updated this, so I've apologized if I'm not. Here we go. Trendscape. There's this brainstorming tool right here. I'm going to click this. And sometimes these reports will have the Trendscape embedded right into it. But Trendscape, as I mentioned, is a brainstorming tool, so you can see how things are connected. Okay, so if you did a search, it would have all these bubbles, and as you hovered over them, it would give you an explanation of, okay, in this market with this trend, this is what is influencing it. And so again, it's going to be great for any type of market research or any campaigns that you have to do that you could. Let me do this as well. I'm hovering over, there we go, the options right here. Okay.
I got a question.
Yes.
Does this research, is this like how many people are looking on different browsers and like clicking on and researching a specific topic? Is that what this basically allows you to do?
Yeah, it includes that. There's a lot of different factors that go into it, but that is something that can be a part of it. Good question.
Hey, Julia, I had a question too.
Yes.
So if we use one of these sources, are we going to use the URL, or do they provide a citation, or do we need to make our own?
That's a great question. Brother Hales, what would you prefer for something like this?
Stupid. I am. I don't care. This is a terrible answer for a professor, but I just want it cited in any way. I don't run this class like English 301 where I have an MLA or APA format requirement. I just want to know where you got it. So it could be a footnote in a way that would allow me to find it. Again, I'm not going to dictate a specific citation format, but just make sure that you are citing things that you do find from these databases.
I like to ask the instructors, because when it comes to these business databases, it is a little bit different, the citations. Yeah. Some of these databases will provide some type of citation, but some will not. And so it really does come down to the instructor on how they'd like you to format that. So good question. Thank you, Brother Hales, for jumping in. But let's see. Anyway, so Mintel, it's a great brainstorming tool, allow you to dive into different types of markets, see the research that's been done, how things are affected, and what drives a certain type of market and category within a market. I will also mention there is another database. I don't have it listed here, but I'm thinking more and more that I might put it in here because it is very useful. It's called MediaMark, and where Mintel is a little bit more broad in what it will give you, MediaMark is it provides very specific consumer data. And so if you needed to see, again, what types of demographics, who the consumers were in a certain market, you can see that. And I'm gonna actually go back here really quick. Again, it's not listed here, and I'm probably gonna add it. But if you don't know this, quickest way to find a database that you know the name of is go to the home page, click this library databases box right in the middle, and click the letter that it starts with. And you just scroll through until you find it. I'm moving you back and forth, sorry. So MediaMark University Internet Reporter. I will say the worst part about MediaMark is the registration, because it is very particular. You have to use a code to register, and every January 1st and June 1st, you have to re-register because the codes change. But once you get registered, log in, and I'm just gonna, I didn't plan on doing this, but I want to mention it just so you know it's out there. So once you log in, you're gonna see these two things. Click the University Reporter. This is where you're gonna get into that consumer data, and it goes back a few years. So I'm just gonna click the most recent. And again, my mind is on food. So let's say I wanted to see some consumer data about Hershey's. So I'd probably want to go into candy, sweets, snacks, and let's just talk about regular or king size. So again, it's going to get very, very specific in the type of information that you're wanting. So once you pick a category, pick a subcategory, now it's going to pull up a general report, and you can actually specify the type of report that you're looking for. So the first thing is, are you going to want a standard report where you're just looking for the numbers, or are you going to want some type of trend report? So again, you can take a look at the trends, what's driving a certain type of trend. I'm just going to leave it at standard for now. This is just a very brief overview of MediaMark. And then your base, you can specify that even more. Do you want to look at total adults, men, women, adults over 21? And then your details, this is where you're going to pick the type of report you're wanting. Let's say, yeah, I want to look at individuals who have bought Hershey's candy bars within the last 6 months. And do you want to, this is where you're going to get into your brands. Hershey's, let's just, yeah, milk chocolate, bought in the last 6 months. And as you add things to your details, and there's 3 things right there, if you didn't notice, there's the usage, a brand, and then a type. And so be sure to go through all 3 lists in case, so you don't miss something that allow you to be more specific, or if you want to take a look at something, let's just look at regular size. Here we go. So again, you've now got a more detailed report, your base total. FYI, this looks like it's in thousands. It is actually in millions. So add 3 zeros to any number you might see. Okay. Let's see, how am I'm gonna probably leave it at that. If you have more questions about MediaMark, how to break it down, feel free to come ask me about certain types of reports, but this is MediaMark. Again, it's very specific consumer data, so you can understand a type of market and things like that. So it is available. Again, it's not on my list, but I think I will add it because I'm seeing the use of it more and more, so it is there. I'm gonna go back to my list here. So we just talked about Mintel. Now I'm gonna get into IBIS, where Mintel was all about markets and so is MediaMark. IBIS is all about specific industries. And there's a few different ways that you can search on IBIS. You can search by keyword company, as you can see right there in the search bar, or an industry name. I will say the most effective way that I have found to search IBIS is to search by a NAICS code. Is anybody familiar with NAICS codes and what those are? Okay, so a NAICS code, what that means, NAICS, North American Industry Classification System. And it's basically a number that is given to an industry. And that,
Julie, I just got to say, I'm so thankful to hear you pronounce it because I've always called it like Nike's code or something.
oh,
So thank you. I'm not going to sound dumb anymore.
I had to learn it because I didn't know. So, NAICS, yes. But NAICS code, to find those, sometimes you can actually Google those for a specific company, because a specific company is going to fall under a specific NAICS code. Okay. And they may fall under multiple NAICS codes. But if you're not quite sure what you're looking for, on this page, click industry reports, industry research, excuse me, and click US industry reports. And right there, you're going to see NAICS. Okay. And there's a few other different ways that you can search. Again, I'm giving you tip of the iceberg with these, so you can at least get started. But I'm going to click this so you can see what these will look like. So you're going to start out with your broad category areas, and then your NAICS codes are going to go into these more specified areas. Okay. So we're in agriculture, forestry, and fishing right now, vegetable farming. Okay. So utilities, construction, wholesale trade, it's huge. There's a lot in here. So again, if you're not quite sure what you're going to be researching, what type of industry, but sometimes if you just want to figure out quickly what a NAICS code is, sometimes, honestly, I've found, go to Google, type in the company name, and type in NAICS. It's all capital letters, and it will more than likely pull up. Okay. So just so you can see what these industry reports looks like, let's, car body shops, sure. We'll take a look. I can actually, in our next database, I can show you a quick way to find a NAICS code as well. So again, it's just loading because it's massive. But if you look at these drop-down menus on the left-hand side, this is all of the information that's going to be available. Industry at a glance. So if you're just needing to, sorry, there's my daughter right there. You'll get those key statistics, some of that information, you know, again, to get yourself started. There we go. Got her distracted again. You'll get some of these major players in here as well, some of the key trends as well within an industry, your executive summary. Let's take a look at industry performance. Again, if you're going to be doing some type of SWOT analysis, IBIS can be very useful for things like that. Key external drivers, it'll give you some good statistics and possibly what's going to happen, what your outlook's going to be looking at. Disposable income, new car sales. So it, again, give you that specific information, and then your current performance, what that is looking like. And then again, your industry outlook. So if you're needing to understand how to tap into a certain type of industry, you know, take a look at this outlook, you know, who the key competitors are. Competitive landscape, that's what I was looking for. So what it's looking like today, how competitive is it to get into this industry? And then major companies. So who are the key players and major players in this type of industry or this market. Caliber Collision Center, can't say I've ever heard of them, but I am clueless when it comes to cars. So, but again, usually you'll get some good key statistics within the last 5 to 6 years, other companies. Okay, so again, a lot of good information about an industry as a whole. Okay, any questions about IBIS? Okay, all right. Now, I want to get into emergent intellect because this is the one that it's going to allow you to get into specific company information. You know, we've talked about markets, industries. Now let's talk about how to find company information, okay? So I'll start by mentioning this is probably the biggest rabbit hole that I've tried to learn as I've studied these databases. It is massive, and there's databases embedded within this database that I'm going to, again, just try and give you an opportunity to see, and then at least hopefully enough that you'll feel comfortable at least diving in and, you know, getting your feet wet with these. So when you get here, automatically you have some options. Search by company, executive, industry, or you can even search by US business, what's new in the US business market. I'm just going to search by company. You can even search by company name, a ticker, or a URL. I'm just going to stick with simple here. And let's say I want to research Apple. And if there's information on it, it's usually going to pop up and give you that option. I will say if you're going to be doing some smaller, you know, small town companies that are more privately owned, that's going to be a little bit more difficult to find research on. A lot of the information that's available here are big companies that have multiple stores and hundreds of employees. So those privately owned companies, it can't hurt to try, but just know there may not be a lot of information on there. So I've done just a search of Apple, and it'll give you synopsis of where they started, key information about them. And this database is actually where you could find a primary NAICS code for a company. And so if you wanted to come here, search your company, copy and paste that NAICS code right into IBIS, it's going to pop up that industry within IBIS. Okay, so that's one quick way to find a NAICS code. I will mention as well, I mentioned databases embedded within this database. You see that that is hyperlinked. That is one of those databases. And so I'm actually going to show that to you really quick. So I'm going to copy that, click it, and it's going to take you to a database called First Research, and it's just going to ask for an email address. It just has to make sure you're a student. You're a student, excuse me. And a lot of this information is going to be industry as well, but sometimes it might be, so I'm just going to paste that NAICS code right into the search bar right there and let it do its thing for a second. There we go. So wireless telecommunications equipment manufacturing. I had no idea that's what Apple fell under. Okay. So again, here's an industry overview, quarterly industry update. Sometimes when you get those quarterly reports, it can be kind of nice. That's why I'm showing you this. And the forecast, once again, some critical issues. So again, for a SWOT analysis, what type of issues could they be facing, or business challenges, business trends, opportunities, okay? Financial information, once again. And I will mention as well, there's this little tab in here called call prep questions. Again, if you're trying to get into a specific industry, for a job, sometimes it's kind of nice to know what kind of questions to expect or good questions to ask in an interview. Those call prep questions are actually very helpful for something like that. So, sorry, distracting her once again. So again, that is there, and it can be very helpful for a SWOT analysis as you're trying to understand those strengths and weaknesses. So it is in there, it's embedded. It's just one of those little tricky things to find, okay? But yeah, back to Mergent. We've just been doing the company overview. You can get into specific financial details. I'm gonna move you over again, sorry. We're kind of back and forth on some of these. It should go back about 5 to 6 years, some of these financials, so you can see how things have changed. Industry details as well. You can also see executive details, which is kind of fascinating, but it also might make you a little bit sick when you see how much some of these executives are making. There's also a family tree, which can be kind of nice, where you can see, again, I'm going back and forth here. And it talks about family members. You can see all the different stores where they're located. And so if you were trying to research a specific store in a specific area, this is a good way to see, you know, is there a store in that specific area that you may be wanting to market a type of, you know, something in that area. You can look at, so we're looking at the complete family tree. You can look at particular company tree, location types. So again, it's just a different way of narrowing that down. Okay. Now, if Mergent Intellect doesn't have all of the information that you're looking for, I'm going to go back to the homepage really quick. There is also another database on here called Mergent Online. And sometimes, so I'm going to scroll down and come here, Mergent Online. When you do a search on Mergent Intellect, you may or may not get all of the company's financials. So sometimes it's good to look in both Mergent Intellect and Mergent Online. They might offer a little bit different information. As with IBIS, I found that the best way to search Mergent Online is with a NAICS code. So click primary NAICS over here, put in your NAICS code, and click search. Okay. And you'll see some of it. So we just put in a NAICS code, and so it's going to be pulling up all sorts of different company names right here. You can we're doing a basic search. You can do an advanced search if you'd like to. So by company name, they're still working on this Mergent Online to make it more user-friendly because it's not right now. So sorry about that. But as you look through some of these tabs, you'll see what information some of these reports may have, you know, the government filings. So if you need to see what types of filings a company has made within the last couple of years, bond search, country insight. Sometimes it's helpful to do research about a country if you're doing something outside of the US, or if you're looking to tap into a market outside of the US, do some research about the country to see, you know, how the political and economic standings are in that country and how they might affect that type of market that you're trying to get into. Again, industry analysis, there's a lot of information in there, okay? Again, it's just not as user-friendly, the Mergent Online, as is the Mergent Intellect, okay? All right. Do you guys have any questions for me? Again, I'm throwing a lot at you in a short amount of time, and I'm giving you I feel like this much. So,
I think it's all good. I'm recording it, so they can always go back
Okay.
and
okay, good.
see what you said.
Okay. Well, if you do have further questions, need help, please don't hesitate to reach out and ask for help. My email is just selfj@byui.edu, or if you don't remember that, go back to the library homepage, click this About tab. Again, my box is in the way, sorry. About tab, click Contact, and it will list all of the librarians in the subject areas that they're over. This is me right here. So there's my phone number, email, office location. I'm not in my office a lot right now, so if you'd like to schedule an appointment, and we can set up a Zoom meeting and I can meet with you one-on-one, and we can dive into specifically what you're researching.
That is awesome. Thanks so much for presenting that, Sister Self. That's great.
No problem.
All right, last chance. Questions? I don't know like anything that Sister Self knows, so. All right.
I'm good at making things up, so.
Well, great. And yeah, everything that you just saw is going to be very helpful when you're doing the SWOT analysis. And remember, I want you picking companies that you're going to be interviewing with in the next few months. And so knowing the industry analysis and those interview questions, what was that called again in that one website? Call questions or
Emergent, the call
Yeah.
prep questions?
Call
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. So that is, the quickest way to get there too is just go to Emergent Intellect, go down to First Research, and it's right there. So there's a couple ways to get there.
Perfect.
And those will be in there once you search for an industry.
Great. Well, awesome. Thanks so much for visiting our class today.
I am happy to help. I'll stop sharing now. Sorry, I just realized I was still sharing.
Oh, no, you're all good.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
again, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to help.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Have a great day.
All right. Okay, so now what I want to do is, yeah, you guys can see the screen. I am going to switch it. Switch so you can see. I'm going to show you just a couple things in iLearn, what we're doing this week, and yeah, an overview of really the rest of the semester. This week's pretty chill. It's next week that's the worst. So next week is the white paper. That's probably the most difficult thing. But Emily, it wasn't too bad. Right? So when I say it's the worst, I don't mean like you'll all survive. Okay, so all right, but just a couple things here first. Let me do this. Okay, let me show you just a couple things that I think are important for this week. Primarily, I'm going to skip this. Don't hyper explain things. There, you got it. But profiling your readers, I think this is very important as you go forward with all of your writing, especially in this class where we're going to focus on business writing and business reports, white papers, memos. I need you to always be thinking about who is your audience when you're writing the specific piece. And really a good way to do that is just always go to this, like who is it that's reading it? What does that person or group of people need? Where will they be reading? And this is actually important. Like when somebody's reading something is very important. If you know that they're going to read it right before bed, you're going to write it very differently than if it's a lunchtime or early morning type presentation. You'll need more detail for those other things as opposed to like an email right at bed. Why are they reading it? How will they be reading it? This is important too. If it's a presentation that you're handing them during a PowerPoint, for example, they'll be skimming while they're focusing on the PowerPoint. as opposed to a more detailed report. All of that is your profile of the reader. So watch that. Yeah, this, I think a lot of this we've talked about previously. Let me just focus on this third bullet point right here. and it flows into this last bullet point, well, the second to last. And it's this problem that I had very early on in my professional career. Remember, part of it I blame on my English major. So I had all these classes about writing this flowery and building up to like the last reveal, right? Anyway, that's how books are written typically, and that is not what I needed. I got in a lot of trouble for this fairly regularly early on in my career because I just wasn't getting the information to my boss quickly enough. I was building. Sounds so stupid saying this out loud, but I was like building suspense, and then guess what? We're gonna make money. And he's like, no, shut up. Tell me how I'm gonna make money right at the beginning. And so anyway, that's so important when you write all of these papers from here on out. I want to know the conclusion right at the beginning. If it's a long report, we're gonna have you do this later on too. You'll write an executive summary. The executive summary will say right what the report is gonna say. I'm actually not gonna have you write a report. I am gonna have you basically think about what your report would say, and then the only thing that you're gonna do for this class is write the executive summary. You're welcome. That's pretty kind. But that's the most important part, because really every boss that I ever had, if I handed them a big report, they'd be like, thanks, Michael, and then drop it in the garbage. And they're like, hey, what did it say? and so that's kind of how I'm going to grade these things too. I'm that boss now. I want you to just figure out the solution and then give it to me in a quick executive summary. Good. This slide, I'll send you these slides. I think kind of the thing that I want you to know is profiling your readers or who watches your content is going to be important, especially for those of you that go into any business, but marketing plays up this quite well. You need to know who it is that's watching it, reading it, consuming that content, and write to that person. I always love that. This is a great class right after the Super Bowl, because then you can kind of analyze different Super Bowl ads and who they're targeting. The weirdest one of all time, I'll just show you real quick. Burger King did this one. Andy Warhol, have you heard of him? Quentin, what do you know about him?
Artist. He is the Campbell's chicken noodle soup one.
Yes.
He does
weird
pop culture art.
Yes, quite strange. And
Really famous.
let's see if this even works. Is that not working? Oh, it is going to work. This is a Super Bowl ad, by the way. Okay, so again, somebody spent like millions of dollars for that. What on earth just happened? Any idea, like why Burger King would even do that?
Somebody lost their job.
Somebody got fired.
I don't know. I want to go buy a Whopper right now.
Yeah, that's the curse of taking this class during lunchtime. You signed up for it, all right? Can't blame me. Yeah. Did you notice anything weird other than Andy?
Dipping his
Yes.
sauce.
One, by the way, like I remember this when I was a little kid, all of the ketchup bottles were always glass. Made no sense at all. You'd always have to like,
Break.
people would like pop the, anyway, idiotic, this world that we lived in the 90s. But, so yeah, that's weird. Why do you think Burger King picked that over all the other possible opportunities that they had for a Super Bowl ad? Why did they pick that one?
I guess it just like he wanted to eat a burger right after. I don't know. Maybe I don't know why they would pick that one over others. I bet other ones would have done that too.
Yeah, it's unique. Yeah, good. Guys on Zoom, any ideas too? Yeah, I think Quentin's got it. Like everybody watched that and together the United States said, what just happened? It's kind of like that dumb movie Napoleon Dynamite. Like the first time that you watch that, you were probably like, what? Like when is this gonna start? And I remember walking out and being like, it just happened. And then you just don't stop quoting it forever. I think that's exactly what they were going for with this. It's like, eat like it. Did you see that stupid commercial? But again, you got people to talk about your stupid commercial, which is a win for all marketers. That's why I'd never be a marketer. That is so bizarre. But again, I think they knew their audience. Their audience would say, what the heck? And then they might go buy the Whopper. So win-win. Yeah. How much are ads going for now? Like 100 million or something? I have no idea. Yeah.
I just thought it was funny because then you pulled the burger out of the box and it was still in the wrapper and took off the bun and nothing was on the burger, just dip it in the ketchup.
So yeah, you
Took
guys
it off
probably
and then
noticed.
put it back.
He takes the bun off, pours the ketchup on the side, and then puts the bun back on. I'm like, again, this is like the Napoleon Dynamite of commercials. So bizarre, and yet it got people talking about it for a few months. And
Old pepper still talking about it for years.
yeah, I mean that. I mean they recycled old footage from like 30 years ago and put it into a recent Super Bowl ad. Okay, whatever.
It did have a hashtag. It must be somewhat.
Oh yeah, this was like a year ago.
Hashtag eat like Andy.
Uh-huh. No, yeah, I mean they made it a long time ago, but they just aired it. They just created the commercial like last year.
Now, I was curious. I thought when you said they created it that year. I was like, wait, why does it look that way then?
Yeah. I'm so confused. And yet, again, pretty effective. Like everybody's going to be talking about that for 30 years or something. Anyway, these are questions to consider when you're framing your writing, your paper. I want you thinking about like the physical context, where are people going to read it? Is it going to be on an ebook? Blah, blah, blah. What are the cost benefits of your ideas? Political context, how will your ideas affect your readers' relationships? And ethical considerations. When you're writing anything, I want you thinking about like, what is the effect of this paper going to have? If you're telling that the CEO of ExxonMobil about global warming and why you need to shut down or something, like that's going to check every box here: political, economic, and maybe not shut down, but how you need to pivot your oil and gas operations for something else. Like you have to anticipate how is that going to be received, and that will dictate how it is presented. Being political, I don't even mean this in terms of like elections. It's just the internal politics of the company itself. You've probably all worked with somebody that like didn't know how to play the political game at work. I know a professor here that just made enemies all the time. He's not here anymore, and so I need you to just always think about the relationships within work. Anybody have a great story about some dumb person that didn't know how to play the political game? Okay, well, you'll find it soon enough. Those can be tragic. Okay, I'm going to come back to a lot of this. This isn't the focus of this week, so I'm not going to worry about that. But your assignment this week, you've got 2 assignments. Your big assignment is going to be the About Us page of the company that you pick. So this is the week. You pick a company. This is the company that I want you interviewing with in a couple months, by the way, that you're going to get a job with next summer or an internship. And when you find that company, I want you to go to their website and find the About Us page. I'm going to have you rewrite it. Okay, this is 25 points. This is what we'll talk about on Wednesday. We'll talk about Wednesday, by the way, just in case the school gets shut down. I'm getting more and more concerned about that. So we'll chat. We might be in Zoom.
But did you say that there's a high chance they wouldn't, but now it's changing?
Yeah, I think it's changing. I'll talk after this. I'll talk about why. But yeah, go if you choose Nike, go to their About page. If you choose Exxon, go to their About page. By the way, the one thing that I should mention is the company that you pick. I want you picking the company that is your ideal summer internship next year or full-time job after you graduate. It's easier to use all these databases if it is a large publicly traded company. Some professors that teach this class mandate that it has to be a large publicly traded company. I don't, because if maybe you don't want to go work for Goldman Sachs, or maybe you don't want to work for Nike, maybe you want to work for like a family business or something, and it would be helpful to analyze that business as well as competitors. I'm going to let you do that too. That's up to you. It'll make some of the research a little bit more difficult, but rewarding if that's where you want to work. I think it's better. So, okay. But find their About Us page. Maybe if it's a small company, they don't even have this yet. This is beautiful. You're going to write it. And when you show up for your interview, you're going to say, hey, you need to get this on your website. That would be awesome. Okay. The thing that I've seen about a lot of these is that they're garbage. Most on the websites of even large companies tend to be pretty convoluted, big, messed up, just a terrible thing. These are things that are helpful, like obviously be concise. You've heard me say that a couple times. But using bullets, columns, pictures, links, internal links can be very great. One thing that I wanted to show you was, no, a couple of these, unfortunately, they fixed. So my BP, this is British Petroleum. It used to be an example of a terrible one. It's actually not bad anymore. They've really kind of spiced this up. So what it used to be was when you clicked on it, it's British, so I have to read all that British stuff. Okay, it was like you would scroll for hours and hours and hours. It was just one huge long page that just went down forever about the history of some British guy that struck oil in Saudi Arabia and started British Petroleum. Anyway, they've fixed it largely by this. They've got, let me make this bigger. All right, so big that it disappeared. Here we go. Just over here, now you can kind of go through and find all of their major milestones with these tabs. So you've got early history, Persia through World War II, post-war. If we go to like the new millennium, now you can see this is their modern-ish stuff. So up till 2012, what has British Petroleum been doing to change the way that they operate? Hello, Rotterdam. Okay. Deepwater Horizon. Oh, do you guys know about Deepwater Horizon? This was it's been like 10, 12 years. The platform in the Gulf of Mexico that exploded, and oil was just gushing into the Gulf of Mexico. But it wasn't all like, this was an interesting crude that like, it didn't largely just come up to the surface and float, although a lot of it did, ended up in Louisiana and Florida and Alabama. But yeah, President Obama was brand new and his famous quote was, "Plug the dang hole," but he didn't say dang. He was getting pretty ticked at this because it took him months to be able to plug this up. And anyway, quite a mess. Lots of lawsuits. Great to talk about in my business law class, but we'll skip it today. This one's kind of interesting. This is Disney, and with Walt Disney, they've done like a terrible job. So again, they just need tabs or something, because again, you're just going to be scrolling forever about the history of Disney right here, and I'm not even halfway done, and we're just like nobody's ever going to read this. Well, I say that, but there's always those Disney freaks. Well, I affectionately call them Disney freaks. Like when I lived in Orlando, I flew a lot for different things and for business, and every time I came back, the flight was always filled with like little excited kids. When I left, it was all like depressed, sad kids. But anyway, landing in Orlando was always great because you'd have all these kids like screaming. But one time there was this lady next to me, and she was bringing a boyfriend with her to Florida, and I don't even remember where they're from. But as soon as they landed, she started crying. She's like, "I just want a Mickey ice cream bar," and then like just like bawling her eyes out, like so excited to be in Orlando. I looked over at this boyfriend, and he had this look like, "What have I done?" It's pretty funny. Anyway, again, I'm still scrolling. So that's what I want you to fix. Now, I'm not going to give you a whole lot of words to do this. That there are restrictions because it's me, and I don't want to read a lot. I want you to focus on highlights. So find that About Us page or Our History page. It's got different names on every company's website, but typically it's Our History or About Us. So find that, fix it, clean it up, make it concise, add some pictures. This is where you can get a lot of points by just making it creative and fun, interesting. If I read it or Emily reads it and we're bored, you're gonna get a C. So pictures help a lot. I'm just a visual guy, so I want to see some pictures. If it's Disney, I better see Steamboat Willie. I almost said Steamboat Mickey, but yeah, that thing. Yeah, questions.
So when we do this, do you want it as like a write-up, like, hey, this is what we're doing for this highlight, and this is the date, or do you want us to, like, I don't know, go on a weekly or something like that and actually build it out?
Yeah, great question. I'm going to leave that up to you. I think the more creative you get, like the higher chance you're going to get a better grade. But usually when students submit this, it's, well, let me say this. Actually, let me double check, because I have had a number of students submit websites that they've made, and that's great. But I think I just limited it to Word docs this semester. So you can like put in a comment, a link to something else if you got super creative. I'll accept that. But for 95% of my students, just put it in a Word doc with pictures embedded within the links or within the page itself. Yeah, good question. Okay, we'll skip Wells Fargo and all of that. This was a company that they just fixed, actually. It's a company called Grain and Mortar, a creative studio located in Omaha, Nebraska. And this was it. Up at the top, you probably can't read a lot of this, but it just says, "We are honest folks." This is their about page, by the way. And then it says, "A creative studio located in Omaha, Nebraska. Our studio is located in the Mastercraft building, a former furniture factory. The industrial elements, pulleys, pipes, bricks, and valves still exist throughout our workplace. We are craftspeople who make products that help our clients and their audience lead better, easier, happier lives." What's your problem with this?
Vague.
It's so vague that nobody has any idea what they're really doing. Like, we help you live a happier life. It's like, is this some kind of like weird essential oil pyramid scheme? Because what is going on? I have no idea. They're a marketing company, but I couldn't. Anyway, I love it because they fixed it. It's better now. but this is how it used to be. And this would have been a great one to like take, fix, and then when you went and interviewed with Grain and Mortar, said, hey, here's how you're going to fix your rubbish about us section on your website. So don't say it like that. Remember, be political. Like right after I tell you to be political, go make fun of their website. No, you're going to say, hey, I've got some great ideas, and then they will like you. All right, so that's the big one. That's what I want you bringing on Wednesday, next class. The other assignment is just, I want a short, this is the 12-point assignment is what I mean. That's going to be, you don't have to bring that on Wednesday, but that's just going to say, here's the company that I'm going to choose, Brother Hales, and why. I just want to know that this is something that's interesting to you, that's beneficial to your future. Talk about your long-term goals with this. That's more of like a proposal type of a paper. So I want you to write it like that, professional and informative. Questions on any of this so far? Okay, good. Then I'm going to kick you out of here. I don't want you to get started on all of this fun stuff. Remember, this week we're ramping up a little bit. Next week, the hardest part of the semester, and then it just kind of starts tapering off for the rest of the semester. So cool. I'll stop recording.